G'day guys, Gordon here with Guardians of Freedom. How you guys doing out there? I hope everyone's doing as well as can be. Got a really important topic, and this is the 10th take I'm going to be doing on this topic because I can't seem to get it just right, and I really want to do that. So bear with me guys, I'm going to try and make this quick. I know you guys are all busy out there, everyone's running around, but this I believe will help everybody. So the topic is motivation, and in particular motivation in relation to our movement. And when we talk about our movement, for me, I kind of started transitioning to what I call the movement against the New World Order, and I think ultimately that's what we're all in. We may not call it that yet, but that's where it's going. So motivation is the basis for just about everything. Whatever we do in life, if you have the right motivation, you'll find that extra bit of strength and courage and energy to push forward. When you look at sports, whether it's, I've been involved in quite a few sports in my life, basketball, boxing, and I think particularly with both sports, I think that extra bit that you pull out that you didn't think you had is what gets you to be a winner. And I feel, I remember training and competing, and you feel like at times I don't have any more, and somehow you'll find that extra bit. So that's what I'm trying to help all of us find. And I think it's important to understand how everybody's feeling. I come across as maybe someone who's not emotional or doesn't think about these things. I actually do, and I think it's important that we understand our emotions and not stay there though, to be in charge of our emotions, but you have to understand that first and be honest with how you're feeling. So hopefully you guys can see all right, because it's a bit sunny. It's a beautiful day actually turned into now. How are we feeling? And I want you guys to maybe talk a bit about that in the comments. I'm sensing there's a bit of tiredness. People are a bit stressed, anxious, depressed, scared. There's a fear of fear at the moment, but we've got to be honest with ourselves, and that's how we deal with these different feelings. Helplessness, hopelessness, tired, I think is one of the main things. It's been a long 5 years now, and the situation is actually pretty insane when you think about it. It is something out of a bad sci-fi movie. So what's the medicine for that? I think the medicine is finding the right motivation. So let's talk a bit about that. And I'm going to talk about it from a scientific place, as well as I'm going to share some of my story, my experience, and maybe some people can relate to that. And from a place of science, the psychology behind motivation is as, I've got some notes by the way guys, so I can get it right. I always miss something every take. This is the 10th take, so let's see if we can get this one right. There's two types of motivation, and then that can be split into another two, so I'll go through that. Self-based motivation, that's self-focused motivation. When we think about that, that could be at work, where it is personal achievement. My salary, I want to get my salary up. I want to attain a certain position, get a promotion, those kind of things. In sports, it could be personal accolades, things like that. And the opposite of that is what's called motivation from a greater purpose, or a bigger cause, something that's bigger than ourselves, that's outside of ourselves. Now at work, that could be that the company you work for has a goal or a strategy or a vision that will provide our community with benefits. And so the motivation then is much more than just for your position in that company. You feel like you're part of something greater. In a sports team, it's the same way. You can have that personal motivation, and then you have that team motivation. Even in individual sports, like with say boxing, if your motivation is just for yourself, that's self-based. It could be for your country to win that gold medal, and that what we found from all the psychological studies is that I think you guys know the answer. The bigger picture motivation, the greater cause, is always a far more powerful motivator, and a motivator that's more durable and long-term. So let's talk a bit about that now. Within motivation, you got positive and you got negative. So a negative motivation is, if you don't do this, this will happen. So at work, it could be, if you don't do this, you're getting fired. If you don't do this, you're getting demoted. In sports, same thing. If you don't do this, you lose. Okay, now that could be a motivator, but what science has also found is the more powerful motivator is the positive. So the example in work would be, if I achieve this, I'm going to be receiving a commission, or our company is going to grow, or I will receive an award. So these are all the positives versus a negative. In sports, same thing. So the negative is we lose, the positive is we win, and what happens from there. So I'm going to talk a bit about that as well, guys. Now, in our movement, I think there's not that much focus on the positive. So I really want to highlight that. I'm going to talk about the negative as well, guys, but the positive is the opportunity that's presented itself. Not many people are thinking about this, and I really want to shine some light on this. The New World Order has come out in the open, guys, right? So there's been a massive awareness now of something wrong, and that's created an opportunity for us to create our new world, to create a world that's free from the tyranny, to create a world that's based on freedom, that's based on good values, that's based on equity, that's based on treating everybody as our brothers and sisters, a world based on love, a world based on justice, a world where we can transform this unlawful system, the unlawful court system, which is prejudice against anybody that doesn't have the capital funds, to a world where we have a simplified system. And I'll just briefly mention, if you have a look at our website, guardians-of-freedom.com, we have posted up there the people's vote of no confidence, and we have a solution, not to just have the vote, but where do we go? We've drafted up a system. We've only put the simplified format online, but essentially it's a system free of the corruption that can allow every person to nominate anybody they want to represent them as a leader in their community on a local, state and federal basis. Essentially it's a council system, no more parties, don't need any of that, and you can recall people anytime you want. So you have a system that is truly for the people, by the people, with full control of the people in the direction the country, the state, the community is going. Now I know that the guys in common law and the sovereign movement have similar ideas. So these are the ideas of creating that new world, our new world. Okay, now I will still talk about some of the negatives, and I'm going to go through this real quick. All of these topics, that could be a whole video in themselves, but I think it's important to still understand, yes, we have this opportunity. Let's move and take that opportunity. That's a massive motivator for me when I see that opportunity that we can create. But we also got to understand that our failure to act has consequences, and we have to keep that in our mind. Not stay there, not focus on that, not stay in the doom and gloom. I'm not trying to create that doom and gloom or fear. It's not what I'm about at all. But we've got to know what's going on and what the effects are if we don't act. Now, in a nutshell, the New World Order, what are they trying to create is a communist or communistic digital one world prison, okay, a surveillance state of total control. That is in a nutshell what they're trying to create, and I'm going to quickly zoom through, and I'm not going to expand on all these, so I'm going to just zoom through them. That's why the last video was too long. I'm going to keep it short for you guys. What are the things that are going on? Okay, now all of these things are evidence-based, and there's more. So I haven't even included everything. I've just jotted down what came to mind. So food sources. Our food sources are being systematically destroyed. Okay, when we look at the agriculture on the land, when we look at our fisheries, all being destroyed. And this is worldwide, guys. The move to laboratory grown food, it's out in the open. Indoctrination of our children, our kids. That's social indoctrination as well as sexualization of our kids. It's some very sick stuff that's going on. That's a whole nother video. I won't get into it or it'll be too long. Digital prison. What is this digital prison that we talk about? It's a combination of a digital ID, central bank digital currencies that are programmable, and the plugging in of the human being. All evidence-based. It's all up there. And I'll just quickly touch on that crazy notion of plugging the human being in. The information and evidence is there. It's not being hidden anymore. We've got Elon Musk with Neuralink. We've got Microsoft body activity cryptocurrency patent, which is a patent about plugging people in. We have the CEO of Oracle, who the United States government, the current United States government, have awarded a contract to build the AI, $500 billion AI network. He's on video stating that he would like the public to decide or start thinking about choosing between their safety and their security and giving up privacy to the mind. And he talks about prevention of crime by reading people's thoughts once we're plugged in, improving policing once people are plugged in. It's not a fallacy, it's reality. It's unbelievable. It's some crazy stuff. Transhumanism. Okay, go and Google European Commission transhumanism. Information's all there. They're not hiding it. You got to go find it. It's right there. Internet of Things. Everybody plugged in, connected to your digital currency, connected to your digital ID. Every move you make, everything you do, every transaction monitored. Every place you go. Okay, destruction of the family unit, which to me is absolutely insane. That when we look at where we're at now, it has almost become mainstream that a normal family unit is not normal anymore. And this has just changed from say 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago to what we're looking at now. And family is a very important thing, because strong family equals strong community, equals strong nations, equals not letting this kind of bullshit creep in. 15-minute cities. Okay, it's out there, information's there, control grid, you've got everything you need in there. They're putting it out there, guys. Climate change restrictions. Okay, climate change. I mean, I hope this video might reach some of the people who aren't awake yet, but climate change is an interesting one. Similar to COVID, all the scientists that don't follow the narrative are booted out. I'm going to expand on climate change shortly, but what we can see from that is weather modification, which is being blamed for climate change. Now, some people will say there's not sufficient evidence. All you got to do is look up. Okay, there are certainly non-normal clouds up there. I can tell you that, and there is information about HARP and other geoengineering activities that have been going on for a long, long time. Cloud seeding included, but it's not just stopping at cloud seeding. There's a lot more they're doing. Evidence is there, so that's poisoning us as well. So they're poisoning the skies, they're poisoning the waterways, they're poisoning the land, and ultimately making it impossible to farm healthy foods. The sovereignty of our nations are at risk, and the cultures are at risk in every different country, not just our country, every single country. Socialism is the main goal. Okay, they talk about it on the World Economic Forum in several ways. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the prediction for the future. That's socialism. And I'm going to quickly touch on that. Why is it important? Why is property ownership important? Unless you live in a land of honor and you can trust that honorable principles will be followed, property ownership became the foundation for Western free democracies as we transitioned from feudalism into where we are today. And the basis for that is if one person or group owns all of the resources, just think about that. You're at their mercy in terms of if they make a new policy that you don't like, well, bad luck. So property ownership was a key element, and they knew this when they shifted to the system. It allows a leverage that people will have for themselves that they don't need to be told what to do every single time. So it gives them some power. It gives you power because you can grow your own food, you've got your own energy, you've got your own water. So important, and I think some people just aren't understanding that concept, and they think it might be a good thing, that it's anti-capitalism. And I mean, I'll get into all that. They've made us go to choose one extreme or the other. You're capitalist or you're socialist, you're left or you're right. That's a whole nother video. But further to that, they talk about stakeholder capitalism on the World Economic Forum, which is basically a trick way of saying stakeholder. Who's a stakeholder? It's the government, okay? It's the public, and essentially the corporations are going to stay, but they're going to be run by the stakeholder, by the public, by the government. Furthermore, on the World Economic Forum, the prediction is the governments of the future will read your thoughts, feelings, and dreams. That is on the World Economic Forum website. World War III. Okay, now I've been talking about this since 2020. I put a post up almost very early when COVID started, and I said, watch out, guys. Right after COVID, we're going to see wars breaking out, and that's going to move to a world war. Because that is part of the agenda. In order for people to accept the destruction of sovereignty, to make you feel guilty, the human being can't be trusted, and to traumatize everybody into accepting this new world, their new world, their communist world. Believe you me, it's on the agenda, World War III, and it's going to be. When we look at World War I and II, I think people are forgetting just how horrific things were, how depressing and how traumatic that period was. These people are very sick. They're willing to do it. They did it once, they did it twice, and they have plans to do it the third, final time. Natural disasters, I mentioned that very briefly before. They are being created. When we look at the fires that are going on everywhere, another post I put up in 2020 will be after COVID. We're going to see mass fires, we're going to see mass flooding, and that's what we're seeing now, to push people off their lands, to get them into the 15-minute cities. The war will be part of that, pushing people into 15-minute cities. We've got Bill Gates also showing the type of control he wants. And it's not just for him, he's just a pawn. He's nothing in their hierarchy. But Bill Gates has got a project to have live video of every single inch of the planet. All right, every single inch of the planet, live video. That means it's a complete intrusion. And the most important part is this was not democratically decided. Okay, and Elon Musk has his 5G satellites beaming down on every inch of the planet. Again, not democratically decided. None of these things are democratically decided, not one. The censorship, we see, okay, we're being booted off social media slowly. Okay, I believe ultimately we won't be able to even use the internet without a digital ID. You won't be able to do anything without your digital ID. Okay, so this is where they're going. They want to tell us how to think. We can see that. It's being pushed into the schools and indoctrinated to the children. It's being pushed everywhere on the news. If there's an opinion that goes against the narrative, that is silenced and people are character assassinated. Censorship is the #1 precursor to tyrannical dictatorship. So when I mention all these things, guys, I don't say this because I want people to sit there and be scared and or be angry and stay in that place. I believe we can use this to energize ourselves. And when we feel these feelings of fear or anxiety or whatever it is, we can channel that energy to a positive energy, okay, and keep us motivated. I will share a bit of my story on that. But I want everyone to start thinking about what's at stake. Okay, what's at stake here? And I want to talk about another topic very briefly called awareness versus being awake. Awake is very different to being aware. And I feel that this video will help. Well, I hope it does. When we start thinking about what's at stake. So is it just your life? Is it just my life? Yes, but it's more than that. Again, is it your children's lives and their future? Yes, it is. But it's more than that as well. Is it your children's children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren? Yes, it is. But it's more than that as well. Is it your country? It is your country. Your country is at stake. Now, here in Australia, you know, I consider myself patriotic. I love this country. You know, I grew up here from the age of 4. Okay, but I love this country very much. And anytime I go overseas, I just love coming home. And when I look around at our culture, I look at our way of living, just the Aussie mentality, the values. I love that. So I love every single person in this country. It's a big part of what keeps me driven, what drives me forward. And, you know, when I see the Aussie flag, and I think people just don't need to argue too much about these things, there's a certain feeling for me, you know, when I see that. And I think in America, in other countries as well, the love for your nation is normal, okay? And that's at stake, but it's still more. There's more than that. And I want people to also be aware that if you just stay there, you can be manipulated. Okay, patriotism, which I hold, but you've got to be aware, because your patriotism can be manipulated. When we look at what they're creating with these wars, that's what they're going to do. And when they're creating the divisions, that's what they're going to use that patriotism. So is it your country? Yes. Is it your children? Yes. Is it yourselves? Yes. But it's still more than that. It is every single generation from here on. It is the changing of humanity as we know it. Human 2.0, transhumanism. They are talking also openly about genetic changes, DNA changes. So it's not just the plug-in. That's bad enough. So it means if we fail, we're not failing just our children, our families, ourselves, our country, but we're failing humanity. So humanity itself is at stake. So it's not just your country, it's the whole world they're attacking. They hate everyone equally. That's the truth of it. They hate everyone equally. Now, I'm going to share a bit about how I see things and how I feel. You know, when I go out, say I'm out at the beach or somewhere, and I see kids playing, that's a big driver for me. Okay, I was with my partner for many years, and her kids and I were very close. We're still close, and I will still do things for them even though we're not together anymore. And that is a big driver for me. But when I see the kids out there playing freely, they can be who they want to be, they can grow up to do what they want to do, and go where they want to go. And I think about what these parasites want to take away, and take their innocence away as well through this trauma that they want to bring on the planet. Massive driver for me. So we need to really think about what's at stake if we don't stop this. You know, it is really a case of evil versus good. And we have to choose, are we going to give in to the evil, or are we going to be pushing forward for goodness? When I say it's evil, this kind of things they're doing with our children, coercion, lying, killing. Okay, killing is it's clear to me. The means do not justify the ends, no matter what these people think. They think they're the illuminated ones, illuminated ones. They think they know better for humanity. Socialism itself is quite an evil concept, and I'll explain more in another video about that. There is a middle ground to everything. Socialism, capitalism, there's a balance, there's middle ground, and that's what we need to be finding in just about everything, and I will talk more about that in future videos. So for me, there's no greater cause. No greater cause. There can't be. when humanity is at stake. There's no greater cause. So it's not just about you and me. It's not just about all of us in this movement. It is greater than me. It is greater than you. It is greater than all of us combined. It's about humanity at stake. It's greater than our countries. Okay, keep that in mind. It is bigger than our countries even. So we've got to find the right motivation so that we can see through the manipulation and the deception and the games they're playing. They're using our normal human psychology and they're manipulating it. So I hope this video can help people to start seeing things from a bigger picture and feel that energy. So even when I'm talking about this, I'm feeling some serious energy in my body, in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Okay, we talk about a spiritual war, you know, good versus evil. The energies, I'm feeling that right now, talking about it. So I don't stay down. I get energized. I use it. Okay. Now, I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story in a sec. But in order for us to get to that place of objective thinking, which is what we need to unite and win, we need to be able to self-analyze ourselves a little bit and see where we might be being manipulated. And I'm going to make a whole long video about the programming that they put us under, and it's been going on. These guys have been around for hundreds of years at the minimum, if not thousands. In the last century, the programming and manipulation has been massive. They've got us exactly where they want us to be mentally to do what they want to do. So look out for that video, guys. It's key for us to be able to get to where we need to get to win. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story, guys. I was aware of the New World Order from when I was very young. So I was probably about 19, 20. I was wanting to join the army. That was my dream, my goal. So I had just finished university and I was getting close to finishing. I was talking about it with my parents. We had a family friend, old German guy, came over. He heard about it. He said, "Mate, do not join." I said, "Why?" And he said, "You'll be a Rothschild pawn." Now, I just want to note, I am not taking away anything from any of our brothers and sisters that served in the military because I believe they were doing from their heart what they felt was the right thing for their people, for their country, and I respect that a lot. So don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm not taking away anything. I think the manipulations are starting to surface now on what was really going on. So full respect and honor to our people that serve. But this guy came and he stopped me and he gave me a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. Wow, great book. I read the book, got me thinking very differently. And I thought, all right, I can't get into what's happening at this time. This was around 2001, 2002. And so I said, I'll wait for a better cause so I can feel right about it. And the more I read about every cause, I realized there was actually always an ulterior motive. So I never ended up going, but I knew about it and I kept reading and learning. And then when 2020 came, I was like, wow, there it is. They're coming. They're going all out. So they're out in the open now. And I pretty much gave up my whole life. I was working in Melbourne. Had a good career before that. I worked in employment services and recruitment. Good money, company vehicle, all the rest, easy life. I had just started my own recruitment company, and I knew right then and there, all that stuff's over. I left it all behind. I left all my financials. I was wanting to buy a house. That's where I was at. And my dream was to move back to Queensland from Melbourne, maybe a decade or so later, to buy a property and live here and retire. So earn a shitload of money. That was my plan, and retire. That was all gone in 2020 for me. My focus simply shifted to a fight that we're in, and I saw things very differently. I realized immediately it's not about myself. Um, I came and I sat down with my dad when I got here. My dad was born in Berlin in 1942. He's seen some pretty hard things and grew up in a very tough time. I don't think any of us can imagine unless you were there. But I think, he's told me some stories. 42, the war was still going on in Berlin. It was pretty horrific. The bombings were actually targeting civilians, and glass was smashing every day in their apartment block. And he used to tell me about, huddling with his little sister and protecting her from the glass and the bombs. And I sat down with my dad and I said to my dad, we got some tough times coming. This is immediately in 2020. When I got here in March, we left Melbourne, came up here, left everything behind straight away. And my dad said, stay out of this, keep your head down, just get through it. And I said, sorry, Pup, we cannot do that this time. They are coming out. There's no escape. There's no running away from this. There's no hiding. It is coming full scale. And I did a lot of thinking. I don't just act before thinking. And for me, I weighed up the risk of doing something versus the risk of doing nothing. The risk of doing nothing is it's going to roll out anyway. Okay, full tyranny. And when I've just talked about all these things, I'm telling you, there's no running, there's no hiding. I'm telling you that right now. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm prepared to do whatever at any point in time to keep us safe and secure. When I say that, I mean that with peaceful means. Okay, so I'm prepared for whatever if we get to that situation. But the risk of doing nothing for me was, well, we can't do that. So my motivation was on straight away, and I knew straight away what's coming in 2020. So it really drove me to do all the things we do with Guardians of Freedom. And immediately my life, I'm not worried about my life or my safety because I see the bigger picture. I will give my life for what we're doing as long as I know it's going to continue. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about myself. I'm looking at humanity being changed forever, being imprisoned forever. Okay, so it changed everything for me. And when we talk about the warrior spirit, to me, that's the warrior spirit. When you're still worried about your life, I don't think you've gotten there quite yet. And I think some people are transitioning across to that. Now, I'm not talking about violence here or anything unlawful. I'm just talking about having that warrior spirit. So that's my story, guys. Everything changed. Okay, so we got in 32 minutes. So thank you for staying. If you made it all the way here, it's all of humanity that's at stake here, guys. Forever changed. So yeah, my mum. I sat down with my mum, who passed away in 22, and my mum was quite worried and said, "Be careful." And I said to her, "Don't worry, Mum, I will do things carefully." And there's a big difference between, or a thin line, I should say, between bravado, bravery, courage, and being stupid. And so I'm not about doing anything stupid. And we've got to take calculated risk with what we do and be smart on how we proceed. Now, I'm going to finish up, guys, and what I will tell you is this. In the 1700s, the Illuminati was found out by the German Empire, and they found out their little plans to create their little socialist one-world government and take control of everything, every resource and every person. And they started catching them and jailing them all. A couple of them escaped, unfortunately, and that's what's going on today. But my main point is they lost then, and they will lose again, and we will win. So what I encourage people to do is take any of your negative energies or feelings and then transfer them into a calmness and a positive, strong energy. They cannot kill the human spirit. That's why they want to plug people in. That's how they can kill the human spirit. Now, I'm not even worried about that because I believe if we keep our minds so strong, it won't matter. Okay, and I was reading about this. The Chinese have already introduced this technology where they are able to enter your mind without even plugging you in. It's through the Wi-Fi. and they can plant thoughts and feelings, and they can read your feelings and thoughts. But I've said to myself, no. And the same study found that it doesn't work on certain people, okay, because their minds are too strong. So we have to use our strength of mind, strength of heart. Whatever they bring, I'm not worried about it. Bring it. Okay, they cannot kill the human spirit. Let them come. Okay, and I think about this stuff a lot. And like I said, when I feel these things, like, let's go, let it come. Not worried about it. We will get our shit together. I know we will, and we will win. So the question is how long we decide before we finally get our act together and unite and see things clearly. And I'm sharing this video to help people keep that fire burning. Okay? You've got to remember this, and I'm seeing some people falling out, dropping out. I understand it. People are getting tired, and it is just too much for some people. Take a break. Take a breather. And on that note, I'm going to mention this. I work on this stuff. I kind of live and breathe this stuff. I do need breaks still, and I take little breathers. And everybody should know themselves and take those little breathers. So part of what I want to start doing is helping people to grow resilience and mental fortitude and courage. But everyone's going to be different. So take those breaks. You don't have to do anything expensive to take a break. Go to the beach. Go to a rainforest. For me, my dogs are my joy. So you got to find a joy that you can look to on a daily basis. I believe that's so important for mental health. And I will talk about mental health, mental resilience in other upcoming videos on how we can do that. And yeah, my goal is to try and help all of us get through to 2030 and beyond safely and well. So we'll start talking about these things that have to be spoken about, and we got to face our realities. So let's keep that fire burning, guys. Let's churn that energy. And even now, I know it's a difficult time with different divisions popping up. Let's churn that energy into a positive, strong energy that they cannot kill. And let's remember one more thing. You've got to be in it to win it. So don't drop out. Take that breather. And let's fight with love. Okay, not hate. So important, because their game is hate, and I've got a whole video lined up on that, on how they manipulate us with the hate. So we've got to fight with love. And some people think that makes you soft. No, it makes you stronger. When we look at stories like true stories like William Wallace, he fought with love. He fought with love. Okay, so we can fight with love. And I think we need to start focusing on moving from being aware to being awake. And to me, aware means you realize you're in jeopardy. Oh, I'm going to get hurt by the vaccine. I might die from the vaccine. Oh, it's my self-preservation. It's not enough. When we move from there, and I'm not judging, I think that's a good starting point. I think particularly for people that were not familiar with this New World Order before 2020, I think that's a great starting point. But now it's time to start looking at the bigger picture. What's at stake here? All right. So like I said, it's not just your children, it's not just your family, it's not just yourself, it's not just your country, it is the entire human race at stake here. So keep that fire burning, guys. Stay well, and I hope this video helps. And I'd love to hear from you guys what you think, what your thoughts are on staying motivated, and what's the right kind of motivation to keep us pushing forward. And if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be making tons of videos covering what I feel are important topics to get us to where we need to be. I'll put some links as well that might be useful. Take care, guys. Stay well.